Good evening. We begin at 5 with newly released body cam video that shows Clackamas County Sheriff's deputies arresting State Representative James Heave. It fills in some of the missing pieces of what apparently started as an argument over Heave smoking a cigarette at the county fair. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Laurel Porter. The 22-minute video shows deputies first confronting Heave, and then it escalates. At the end, Heave is taken away in handcuffs. KGW investigative reporter Kylie Boshi got the video earlier this afternoon. And Kyle, you put in a public records request to get it.
That public records request was actually initially denied, but we argued releasing the body cam footage was important because Heave is a state lawmaker. He's a public servant. We should note, before the video was released by the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office, faces were blurred as required by state law. Newly released police body cam footage shows the arrest of Oregon State Representative James Heave at the Clackamas County Fair. Heave admits he'd been drinking. The Republican from Canby was handcuffed on August 17th after refusing to give his ID, then booked into the county jail. In the video, Heave acknowledges he's a public official and wore a campaign shirt.
You hear me out? If you're running for political office, probably not the look you want to get going down here.
Yeah.
Several calls from employees telling us that you refuse to put out a cigarette and refuse to leave. That's not cool.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't get told to leave.
Well, I think you did. Do you have ID on you by chance, man?
Yeah.
Can I see that?
No.
Okay. I'm not.
No, I can't show you my ID.
Deputies then put Heave into handcuffs and removed a firearm from his hip. During further questioning, Heave downplayed his interaction with fairground staff, which asked him to put out a cigarette and leave. Smoking is not allowed on fairgrounds property.
Some lady just walked up and was just like, you and your cigarette. Long story short. And
Do you know that lady works for the fair that told you to put that cigarette out?
do you know how many people work for the fair or fairgrounds or? Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody can say, hey, I work for the fair.
Okay.
Deputies tried repeatedly to calm Heave down and encouraged him to cooperate, suggesting they would issue him an exclusion notice from the fairgrounds and then drive him home. Instead, the state lawmaker challenged deputies to arrest him.
Wait, you reaching on my arm.
You're about 2 seconds from going to the ground. Chill out.
Well, there we go.
Alright, we're not
Go
gonna
ahead.
play this game.
Hurt me. Go for it. What are you gonna do?
Why are you acting like this?
Why the just chill. Wrenching on my arms?
You're not acting like an adult right now.
Why are you wrenching on my arms? I never tried to do anything. I just wanted to leave.
And we
I wanted to leave. Why? All right. I just wanted to walk home and leave.
For your safety, we can't let you walk, and that's why I offered
Oh,
to
yeah?
let you drive.
Yeah. And
But now, due to your behavior, you're going to go to Clackamas County
okay.
Jail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
He was arrested on suspicion of disorderly conduct and interfering with a peace officer and booked into jail. Previously, Heave told KGW he wishes he'd made better choices that night, including waiting to smoke a cigarette until after he left the fairgrounds. So far, the Clackamas County DA's office has not filed any charges in the case. He was appointed in February to represent Oregon House District 39, replacing House Minority Leader Christine Drazen, who stepped down to run for governor.
Well, that does fill in some of the blanks we had in the initial story. Thank you, Kyle. Federal authorities are warning Oregonians to be on the lookout for rainbow fentanyl. It's a new form of the drug that's been found recently in the city of Portland and Tigard. It gets its name from its multiple colors. Rainbow fentanyl is dangerous because it is potentially more potent and because kids can mistake it for chalk or even candy. The DEA has put out a warning saying anyone who encounters it should immediately call 911.
Seems to be turning up more and more. Flags will soon fly at half-staff in Oregon in honor of a fallen Wildland firefighter. Now, earlier this month, 25-year-old Logan Taylor died battling the Rum Creek fire in southern Oregon. He was hit and killed by a falling tree. Flags will be lowered at state public buildings on Monday at the governor's order. That is also the day of Taylor's public memorial service in Medford, and we thank Taylor and his family for the sacrifice they have made to keep us all safe.
Investigators have reopened a nearly 50-year-old cold case out of La Grande, Oregon. They're trying to identify the remains of a young woman found buried in a wooded hillside. Daisy Caballero joins us now. And Daisy, you learned just last week searchers went back to where the remains were found using cadaver dogs.
Yeah, Laurel, Oregon State Police says that the dog showed interest in the rural location they searched in Union County. They're hoping it will turn up evidence that could help identify the Finley Creek Jane Doe, who's at the center of this 1978 cold case.
Now, take a look at your screen. This is a sketch of who police believe this unidentified woman could be. Some background: her remains were found in a shallow grave near Finley Creek in August of 1978. She would have been in her late teens or early 20s. And just last week, forensic scientists and detectives dug up 3 locations, including the original burial site and 2 other areas nearby. They shifted dirt and material through screens in hopes of potentially finding even the smallest bone fragments or other evidence to help identify this woman through DNA testing. The search and rescue team found more than 50 bones, but the state's forensics anthropologists found that none of them were human. OSP and other agencies say they'll continue with the search in hopes of finally identifying the Finley Creek Jane Doe and bringing closure to her family.
Now, officials ask anyone who may have information on this case to contact the Oregon State Police Dispatch at 800-442-0776 and reference the case number you're seeing at the bottom of your screen right now. That's SP 7875-2103. David?
Thank you, Daisy. Some big national headlines tonight. Today, a federal judge released the affidavit that led to the FBI's search of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. Now, large portions including entire pages, I should say, are redacted. You see it there, but it still provides new details on what agents were looking for. The affidavit says the Department of Justice believed highly sensitive national security information was being kept at Mar-a-Lago illegally. Now, it got involved after initial set of documents are returned in January. Agents suspected more were stored on the property and they could compromise, quote, clandestine human sources used in intelligence gathering. Now, during the August 8th search, the FBI seized 11 sets of classified documents. Some of them marked top secret, others as sensitive compartmented information.
We're dealing with the most sensitive information. The hair on the back of my neck stood up when I saw those classification markings referenced here.
That should be a sobering moment for all of us to realize that we're in this situation with former President Trump.
And that partially redacted affidavit still leaves a lot of questions. The Justice Department had argued releasing it in full would put witnesses and investigators at risk and damage the investigation. Former President Trump criticized the redactions and, without evidence, accused the DOJ and FBI of playing politics.
A rough day for the stock market today amid a warning that some pain could be on the way. The Dow plunged 1,000 points. The S&P dropped 3%, the Nasdaq 4%. It's on the heels of comments from Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. In a speech today, he said higher interest rates will likely persist for some time as the Fed tries to beat back inflation. There are signs inflation has hit its peak, but it doesn't appear to be declining yet.
A plan for what's known as a residential behavioral health facility in Clark County is a big step closer to breaking ground this evening. Let's bring in Tim Gordon in Vancouver. Tim, it is a state project. The need is clearly there, though it sounds like some neighbors aren't thrilled about it.
Right, David. In fact, this is the last thing that some neighbors want, but still the state does now have a conditional use permit which allows them to move forward toward building. I'm going to take you up to the site and show it to you. It's an open field off Northeast 50th Avenue in the Mount Vista area of Clark County. It's just east of Washington State University Vancouver campus and just across the street from iTech Prep, which is a school in the Vancouver district. The Washington Department of Social and Health Services plans a 3-building facility with 16 beds in each, treating those who have no criminal charges pending but have been civilly committed for 90 to 180 days or more. Now, this is part of the state's strategy to create smaller facilities throughout the state to care for behavioral health patients. But there are plenty of signs of opposition near this Clark County location. One of them is Luann Connors.
They're not putting up a fence. They're not putting up razor wire. They're not putting up anything like Washington State Hospital, but they're sending Washington State Hospital patients here.
So it's fully locked. The patients are not allowed outside of the facility or the fenced area. The outdoor recreation area has a 12-foot anti-climb fence.
Well, that second voice from the state's Behavioral Health Administration. As for Luann and many of her neighbors, they understand that more mental health facilities are needed. They just think the state could have picked a much better site. But barring any legal challenges, the state plans to build at that location and have it open in winter of 2024. Back to you.